I mentioned earlier, that is a big part of it, to just stay there. Also, I found that to build consistency, you can also teach others. So when you're teaching somebody else how to do something, you have to know it. So I decided to become a tech instructor with Black Girls Code, and then also to help with as a web advisor with start small, think big. So Black Girls Code was amazing because I felt like I was directly giving back to my community. I was giving back to the little Mo that didn't know that this is something I could be able to do, that was always told that I should do something else and computer science is not for me, or maybe you should go more into administrative or HR. If I just had one person just introduce this to me as a child, it would have made a world of difference. So that's something I give back to. And then start small, think big is more for the entrepreneurs out there. It's for the underserved communities that want to start their own businesses. And they provide them resources to be able to do that. They provide them marketers, they provide them people who can be able to give them supply chains or whatnot. This is a great initiative that I was a part of and I did as a web. But my point is just start to put yourself out there a little bit. You'd be amazed that you might think you know very little, but it is a lot to share with the next person and they'll be very grateful for it. So that was part of the OBIT plan. So how do you continue to grow and stay consistent in tech? How can you do that? Number one, you can continue to learn whatever avenue that you find appropriate for you. You can be able to find those different platforms that you can go on. It can be subscription-based. It can be just different tutorials from practicaldev.com or even from Medium, the reading resource. You can go there and look at those things and see what would be best suited for you. Give back. Mine was Black Girls Code and Start Small, Think Big. But there are other organizations out there or nonprofits that you can easily give back to. When you give back, it's not only flourishing and building tech pipelines for your community, but it's also making you a stronger tech professional. And then there's also, you can do mentorship. So you can mentor others. You can always give back because once you start to break into it and you start to learn things, don't keep those little secrets or those little nuggets of information to yourself. Make sure once you step forward, you turn around and you make sure you share that information back to that next person. Do not be a gatekeeper. We know how it feels to have gatekeepers stop us. Do not contribute to that. Make sure you turn around and you give back. I mean, we all want to grow, right? That's growth. So with every mission set, when you're done, you're wrapping it up at the end, you look at your plan and you say, what are my lessons learned? Or what is the action after action review, your AAR? So this is what I learned. I learned that nothing speaks louder than delivering. I can tell you that I know this. I can tell you that I know that. I can say that I might do this and I may do that in the future. But it really speaks volumes if I deliver. If I just show them that product and say, boom, yep, I did that within 2 weeks. And it looks good, it's functional, everything looks beautiful, UI, deliver. Make sure that you are not just giving people lip service, that you are going through and trying to complete it. And it's okay to practice intellectual humility too. Let's not forget about that. If you really truly don't know something, be honest in it and say, I don't know it, but I'm willing to learn it and I'm going to try to do it quickly and effectively. My next one is live the bigger life. It's that corny one. It's like dream big. But that goes hand in hand with like the imposter syndrome stuff. Like just don't make sure that you don't self-reject, right? Make sure that you just go ahead and put yourself out there, put yourself forward and go for that bigger dream. That thing that you thought was unattainable, try to hack at it. Try little by little to hack at it and figure out, how do I break the code of that? How do I get inside of that? How do I reverse engineer it to where now I can use those 12 pieces for myself? Try to do that and try the unexpected. I mean, it might seem too big, but it can be very rewarding once you accomplish it. Last is help others. don't forget to build that network. Build your squad, your tribe, whatever you want to call your thing. Build that circle of trust of people that you guys can continuously give and take, give and take. Like it's just that synergy that you're building with your people. Um, Tell someone how you did it. Don't you dare make it through those doors and don't turn around and tell somebody else how to do the same thing. Do not be intimidated by other success and thinking that they're going to pass everybody. There's so much room at the table. There's so much room at the table. Your piece of the pie does not mean that somebody else is going to get less. This pie is endless, okay? Just make sure once you do it, you are willing to share with somebody else and show them how you were able to do it. And just a little shameless plug, helping others and giving back. I do have another talk today at 4:30 Eastern time, about 3 hours from now. But if you want to learn how to give back to your community through tech or give back to tech without any burnout, we can be able to talk about that a little bit later. And here's a couple of cheat codes, bonus tips. Trust the process. It might seem like I don't want to take downtime 6 months or a year, but trust the process. Just go ahead and push yourself through it and it will work out. Trust it. That struggle is worth it at the end. Make mistakes and focus on what you control, what you can control. Fail and fail hard. Just hurry up and do it. Hurry up and do it. Fail. Don't worry about failing. And then control what you can. If you can't control it, move on to the next thing. And the last one is be authentically you. Be you, right? They'll adjust. They'll figure it out. Be you. Don't feel the need to get into a workplace and 100% code switch or to not be who you are, especially in this day and time. We are celebrating Juneteenth. People are getting days, holiday leave off today. Be you. Do not be ashamed of who you are, what you represent, and what your skin looks like. So, give yourself self-affirmations. You're great. You look good. You can do it. Well, that's about wrapping it up. Do we have time for a little bit of Q&A, Lance?
I don't think so. I will ask you one question though. Let's see if we have time for that. For those that are already in the 9 to 5, what suggestions would you have in terms of how much time they can put into studying?
So I would say there's a nice hack that I've learned. So there's a hack of 25 minutes a day.
Okay.
Minimum. Because if you put 25 minutes a day, by the end of the week, you have dedicated 2.5 hours.
Okay.
So if you can do 2.5 hours, you can get a little bit of foundational learning done that way.
Awesome. Awesome. Mo, that was absolutely inspiring. It was awesome. It was great. A lot of information, a lot of good tips. And we thank you so much for imparting and all that you're doing to help the community, the Black community especially. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Happy Juneteenth, everybody. See you later.
Bye-bye now.
an organization that wanted to provide a safe space for engineers of color. People asked us, why is the community even necessary? And yet we're one of the fastest growing Black tech meetups in the DC area. Being Black in corporate America, you know, we're usually one of the few in the workspace. This default brings about an unspoken burden for Black engineers. With an organization like Black Code Collective, where we strive to provide a place where the stress can be momentarily lifted off your shoulders as you're among individuals which you can relate and amongst who you might be more likely to ask a question. In turn, providing a support system where you can seek advice. We hope to provide a community that forever changes the lives by encouraging advancement in the field of software development, and we hope you're going to check us out.
Hey y'all, my name is Brandon Coates, and I'm with the Black Code Collective as well. The Black Code Collective primarily meets monthly in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. During these meetups, we often give our members often give talks or tutorials. These talks can range from things such as cloud development fundamentals to a tutorial on implementing Kubernetes to how to negotiate salary and a myriad of other topics. Sometimes we just get together to have a hack nights where people share their projects and ask for help in development of their ideas. Between these meetings, we also have a vibrant Slack community where we discuss language-specific problems and overall experience of being Black in the technology fields. Some of our larger events that we do annually include participating in the Hacktoberfest, where we provide workshops to our members on how to contribute to open source code and give our members the opportunity to perform their very first pull requests. We also volunteer with local high schools to show the DC area students that there are people in the tech world who look just like them.
Hey y'all, my name is Malik Diarra, and I'm also one of the organizers and founders of Black Code Collective. And one of the things that came out of just the recent events related to the protests surrounding the tragic deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor is we felt energized to really answer to the call to action to the tech community to make a more inclusive and supportive workplace. So one thing that we did is we built a Black tech workers manifesto. And one of the things that we want to bring up first is we do not claim to be the most knowledgeable on how to fix a company's culture, but we did build this manifesto from our own experiences as well as research on certain topics. And the manifesto is not meant to be the end goal for any company, but merely a starting point that they may start to look into on how to address their company culture. And some of the things that are talked about in that manifesto relate to recruiting, inclusion, promoting, and salary transparency. If you want to find out more about the manifesto as well as Black Code Collective, please check out our website at blackcodecollective.com. And in that website, we will be have plenty of information about our sponsorship, upcoming events, as well as how to join our Slack community, which is where a lot of open and honest conversations with Black tech workers are happening.
We're proud to sponsor the Juneteenth conference. I want to thank the conference organizers for bringing this great event to our community. And also, mostly, I want to thank each and every one of you for attending, being part of it today. Well, many years ago, we created a vision for Accela, and in it, we included these aspirations. We will have rich diversity in all aspects of our business. Everyone who encounters Accela will feel welcomed, respected, and a sense of mutual benefit. Well, the events of the last 3 weeks have caused us to evaluate that and acknowledge that we have not yet fully realized that vision. So we need to redouble our commitment and increase our efforts. Well, the same goes for the tech community broadly. Black professionals are far too underrepresented in the tech community, and that has to change now. It has to change because equality of opportunity is a basic right of every human and every member of our community. And it has to change because it's vital to the tech community, because our teams will fail if they don't have the rich diversity that comes from equal opportunity. Without diversity of thought and perspective, our tech solutions will fail to serve the whole community, and they won't reach their full potential. Excella is committed to sharing what we know and also learning from our community, our professional communities. That usually has to do with technology, but it's equally true of the quest to address racial injustice. So if you care to see Excella's commitment to addressing racial injustice and some of our actions to date, please visit our website at excella.com. Thank you all for standing together, learning together, and acting together to celebrate Black excellence in technology. I can't think of a better way to celebrate Juneteenth. Thanks for joining, and happy Juneteenth.
Hello, and welcome to the inaugural Juneteenth conference. On behalf of the team that worked so diligently to bring this event to life, we'd like to thank you for joining us in this audacious dream. 2 weeks ago, we set forth to bring a conference that celebrates, gathers, and uplifts Black voices in technology. And today, we get to see that vision become a reality. We'd like to invite you to learn more about the conference and the holiday behind it by clicking on the link above labeled Juneteenth in the header. Thank you so much for joining us and enjoy the conference.
We are live. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you're enjoying this conference as much as I am. This has been an incredible session, and we have no intention on slowing things down. In fact, coming to us live from Atlanta by way of Nashville is an Air Force combat vet, Top Gun. He's been developing in the developing world since 2013, and among his many accomplishments, he's been featured in Wired magazine. He is the founder of Vets Who Code, and that's been in existence now since 2014. And he was invited to the White House to meet with former President Barack Obama. So you didn't come to hear me. I'm going to turn it over now to our guest. Honored to hear from him, Jerome Hardaway. Take it away, please.
Thank you. Yeah, Top Gun was Navy, but I won't hold that against you. Sorry for that. So I apologize, guys. I just touched down in Atlanta, so you might hear like dings and stuff going on. I haven't been able to put all my stuff on Do Not Disturb. Sorry for that in advance. But the talk we're here today to talk about is Combat to Code, the Vets Who Code story, and how everybody's blowing me up right now. I'm sorry. How Vets Who Code, how we've trained over 250 veterans on how to use software engineering and get jobs 100% free. Before we start, I want to make sure you guys know we stand with you as veteran community with Black Lives Matter. We understand the value of Black lives, no more personally than myself. I've been there as both African American and a veteran on the front lines, been to protests, seen the battles. People don't understand the things that we've done for this country. But I see you guys, especially the Generation Z guys out there. They're going full Dracarys out there. We are comfortable being in the back seat, and I'll be the guy with the bail money and in the hiring manager position while when you guys are ready to step up to the big boy jobs. Trigger warning, combat veteran, I speak in acronyms and F-bombs. I apologize in advance for anything that I do to upset anyone here. I'm not trying to piss y'all off. And if I say anything y'all don't understand, just let me know. As I said in the chat, the host will let me know in Q&A, and we'll be able to talk through that. About me, they call me Captain America of the Web. Long story short, U.S. Air Force combat veteran, I was security forces, trained in the Phoenix Raven program, actually signed up for some outside the wire missions because did not want to spend my career at a gate. So I did some really cool, what I like to say, hood shit with my friends from my country. And you won't see a lot of pictures floating around me because all of my stuff is like crazy action shots that, I don't want to get in trouble in the military for. So that's part of my life. Current job right now, I'm the dev advocate at Quicken Loans. We brand new team just spun out, doing a lot of cool things with the company, and hopefully start doing some cooler outward focused things. Specialize in all things JavaScript, UI, UX, software architecture, Node, Express, Happy.js. I'm falling in love with front-end architecture, and just spent a year with the CBSI team, actually, before joining this team, doing web accessibility, and those guys were awesome as well. Web dev experience is 6 years. I started my first time trying to learn how to code was 2010, right after the military, when I came back home, and everybody was like, thank you for your service, but we don't have any jobs here because it's a great recession. and I did not. Options were either go be a security guard for I think $9, or go back overseas and get shot at again as a private military contractor. Didn't like any of those options. Ended up picking up a book on SQL and learning some SQL, some Postgres, and getting a job with the Department of Homeland Security. Because it was a little bit of database administration, a little bit of Excel, I never really counted as my first full coding job. That didn't happen until like 3 years later. Right now, when I'm not building things for money, I'm the geek at arms at Vetsu Code. That's a cooler way to say executive director, because I am too young to be called executive director out here in these streets. Where we retrain, retool, and relaunch veterans using the JavaScript ecosystem to help them learn how to get jobs and learn how to build things and get jobs. And I also write for Stack Overflow, which is kind of cool because in 2014, I asked a question in Stack Overflow and somebody was a hater on me, and now I'm getting Stack Overflow money. So that's everything comes full circle. Absolutely love it. And I think my biggest success point is I somehow convinced the entire web world full of white dudes to call me Captain America before Sam Wilson was debuted by Marvel. So Anthony Mackie, if you ever see this, you owe me a shield because I was here first on the internet. So don't be a hater. Vetsu Code, let's talk about it. It's the first remote, veteran-led, operated 501c3 that focuses on training veterans and software engineering principles, utilizing the JavaScript ecosystem for free. When I say free, I mean 100%. Our veterans, they don't pay us a solitary dime. They don't do anything when it comes to GI Bill or vet tech or any of that crazy government stuff. We chose that option because we want to move fast and be agile. And you can't do that when the government has their fingers in your nonprofit. Our current curriculum is one of the most forward-thinking curriculums out there. The syllabus is on GitHub. If you guys look at it, just just look up github.com, Vetsu Code, and it's out there. It's full Jamstack. We absolutely love it, and it's been the curriculum for about 1.5 years, and our veterans have been using it to kick ass and take names. A little bit more about me. I've been featured in Diversity in Action, Wired Magazine, HuffPo, and a few other articles and places, too many. I've been in this for 6 years, so it's been a minute. I spoke at OSCON. That's my favorite. Facebook was my weirdest. SignalConf, best. They have the best swag bags ever. If you ever get a chance to go to SignalConf, go there. JSConf in Medellin, Colombia, best food ever. I gained 15 pounds in a week. And I also got to meet Barack Obama on his birthday and speak at the White House for a little bit. So that was cool. Me at Cascadia JS, they were voguing, J Don't Vogue. So and me at OSCON. There you go. The Signal and my first story. To date, Vetsu Code, we've trained 252 veterans that have gotten jobs, software engineering, and that's 37 states. And I think we're at 17.6 million currently of job offers and people putting that money into the economy. And it's a cool, it's the most humbling experience I've ever had, going from M4 carbines to MacBook Pros, and then transitioning to helping other people to follow in my footsteps. Guys like Ben Winchester, who he just got a job at Deloitte, and he's heading up our podcast team at VWC, or Jeff Martin, who was an X-ray tech in Clarksville, Tennessee, getting his first job at Microsoft at the HQ in Seattle, 24 hours after getting his job offer, proposing to his girlfriend, because fiance flies are over there, they get married. I'm like, yo, this is a whole family now. This is wild. That's the power that we all have in educating, teaching, and sharing people. We're not people who are the educators and mentors. We don't just build things and teach things. We touch the world. We change entire lives. So if you're looking at something to do, I would definitely suggest becoming a mentor and instructor in your local areas, because it's such a heartwarming experience. The stack we focus on is Jamstack. We do this to focus on mastering language manipulation APIs. In my experience, coming from a young Padawan, just like many of you are, or maybe not, to where I'm at now, being able to take your time and focus and deep dive in one language is the best way to like learn how to code and learn how to code well. Having said that, 2014, 2015, it wasn't that easy because, you know, Node was just coming out. Angular 1.x was a nightmare to work with. CoffeeScript, people were trying to do what they're doing with TypeScript now. It was just hard, right? But then comes along Jamstack, and we have this cool thing where, you know, we are able to just use markup and JavaScript and throw the APIs over the fence and have developers learn how to code while also learning how to build real products with just the APIs. You have great tools like Contentful, Netify, Gatsby, absolutely a huge fan of Gatsby. Every API in the book, my favorite API currently is Marvel API because I am Captain America. So like these tools we use, or with these tools, these technologies, we're able to help veterans build full scale products and projects they can showcase to hiring managers and make money with. One of our veterans that we just did a podcast with, Steve Clark, he just made his website called angrypickles.com. He's working on it, but he's already made money with his product before it's launched. And it's just, hey guys, selling a Marine selling spicy pickles is the funniest thing to me. Like, I can't even say that with a straight face. Can't believe, like, shameless plug, Angry Pickles. Like, check out the Angry Pickles guy on Twitter. Skills we focus on: web development, language mastery, and computer science fundamentals. We do this with our troops stay ready so they don't have to get ready. That's our old combat saying right up there with, you know, train hard, easy fight, easy training, hard fight. When we say web development, we're focusing on, of course, mobile first web development, keeping it as lean as possible, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, teaching our veterans where they can add React in the right spots, because one of the things, the first thing I noticed with a lot of entry-level developers and junior devs is they just react all the things. But when you get that experience, like of working at big companies like I got at CBSI, you start learning that, you know what, it's best to, especially with React as a library, to not react all the things and focus on the things that are static. It can be controlled by just static pages in UI, keep that static, and the things that you absolutely need to have move. That's when you start with React, that real-time data. A great example would be like if you have a chat box on your website. The whole website doesn't need to be a React app, but that chat box can be a React app within the static website. A great example, especially you guys want to show like a little higher level understanding of software architecture on your projects. That's a real quick and easy flex that you can do for hiring managers. Also being able to have those talks with things like SMACs and BIM and front-end architecture on that level with them. We able to get into the crux and like the level of being able to speak tech and talk about the art of building. Computer science fundamentals, I am going to be honest, we focus on computer science fundamentals for the sole purpose of the hiring managers and tech teams. We understand that, unfortunately, we live in a world where computer science still uses a gatekeeping tool. And as much as I would love to change that, I have to operate in the world as it is while pushing to make the world what it should be. So while I am vehemently against computer science fundamentals being a gatekeeping tool, because I have never in my life used big O notation or LIFO and FIFO in a conversation. You just do the thing and build it. It makes sense to make sure that my veterans don't go out there without those tools in their toolbox. So some key differences with Veteran Code from other organizations. Rockstar Board. A lot of the people that engineers who are working, they absolutely love, and they're paying for their courses and stuff. They're actually sitting on our board as well. We'll lawyers, engineering managers. We have people such as Amanda Kasari, engineering manager at Google Cloud, Carrie Youngman, engineering manager at Netlify, Brian Holt, Kyle Shevlin, Shevlin's Webflow, aka.io, Brian's front-end masters, Microsoft, and as you guys know, he's a program manager for the VS Code project. Guys like Maxim Thorne, who actually helped write the bill for equality, equal marriage in like the United States. Like, we have these type of people that we are able to lean on and learn from, and then take that information and disseminate among the troops and those resources. The instructors, they have the same life experience that our troops have. Every instructor at BWC was once a BWC troop, has had a job for a year on a production app because of BWC, and now they're giving back. Our EDU team is the only team, or the requirement is to have a job for a year writing code and be a veteran, and also have gone through the program. So that's the toughest team to get on. Separate teams to ensure BWC grows. I don't know if civilians have this concept, but we call it team of teams in the military. General McChrystal came up with it, or we have asynchronous teams working on separate products, so that everything continues moving smoothly, so things can grow without me having to pay attention. I feel like as a leader, if I'm having to ask what's going on, then I'm failing as a leader. And top level introductions and talks, aka our Slack side chats. That's my favorite thing, where people come and just talk to the veterans, like AMAs. I know in November we have Adi Asami, we have Cher from Apple coming up. I'm actually working with the CEO of GitHub to come and talk to our veterans for more interest on the business side of development. It's a really exciting experience. I have people who have done so much come and pour into these veterans, and see veterans freak out. Great example, Steve Clark, the Angry Pickles guy. he freaked out because the CEO of Netlify retweeted him, and he hits me up at 10 p.m. I was like, holy shit, this dude just retweeted this podcast about me talking. I'm like, oh, that's okay. First time, it's cool. I'm going back to bed now. Good night. But that's every day of my life. A veteran excited about a milestone that they've gotten, and that's the type of joy I get to bring to the world. Our end game is re-entry to retirement. When I say that, I mean that we want to be able to support our veterans from the first step that they take to learn how to code in that first hello world, all the way until they decide that, you know what, code is not for me anymore. I've made enough money. It's time for me to go. I would like to, I'm going to go sit on a beach somewhere and retire and play with my kids or my grandkids. That's where we're seeing it go. We come from this because we got to this level because we kept having veterans come back over the past 2-3 years to get more mentorship, get more team building with us, so they can go and get the next job after we wanted a promotion. And we just saw that, you know what, this is an area that our troops are starting to go, so we have to be here. And I absolutely love it. Have been around when Schuster Braun was kind of support tech when he first started with Vetsu Code, to after Vetsu Code, 3 days later getting his first web development job. And then a year later, he's coming through us again to prep for an Amazon interview, and he ends up working at Amazon. These are the amazing stories and lives that get to impact. And it's just, I cannot. Of course, I can't say anything other than it's amazing. It's the best work on earth. Because I heard you guys want to ask questions, so I'm going to open this spot up for questions since we have a little bit of time. And first of all, I just want to say thank you. I'll tell you guys, keep fighting a good fight. Once again, Black Lives Matter. Donate if you can. If you don't feel in your heart to donate to Vetsu Code, please donate to the people of this conference, or also please donate to your local Black Lives Matter funds and charities. Make sure when you donate locally, you have more impact. So always remember, donate locally because you have more impact. And of course, my favorite thing, remember to hydrate. You guys see me on Twitter. I'm randomly reminding you guys to drink water and do push-ups because those are the two things that push me. Outside of that, I hope you guys have a great day.
Awesome. That was absolutely incredible, Jerome. Really appreciate the efforts that you and your team are undertaking in all of this. I do have a question for you. For someone really looking to get in that may already be dealing with the day-to-day 9 to 5 and just life overall, any tips for how they can kind of allot time to do this and the best place to actually start?
Roger that. So first things first, Vetsuco has that baked in. Most of all of our classes are in the evening. We try to do no more than 2 hours in the evening. Monday through Thursday is my schedule, but the other instructors, they kind of make their own schedules with the team since they make it. So that's one thing. We try to accommodate, real life. It's not, don't think of it like those for-profit boot camps where it's 8 hours and you've been in a hoodie and like eating like food and stuff. No, I was an adult when I learned how to code. I understand you have responsibilities, you have a life, you have to make money. So like, I'm not trying to hold up time. Like, you are going to have to dedicate time, but I'm not going to try to get in between you and making a living for yourself.
Right. You have some people that when they go down this path, they're a bit intimidated because they feel like they don't fit in. Usually, especially in our culture, we can see someone like you, and you would be considered, the exception to the rule, unfortunately. And that's because, when we look at someone like you, we don't see many of you. I went to an Amazon conference earlier this year, and I was at home. It was a feast, but I was able to count the number of people that looked like me almost on one hand, every given, a certain number of feet and such.
So it's just the industry.
For people to actually overcome that intimidation factor.
The same thing that I did, I was like, straight up, fuck it. Like, who cares? Like, all right, they're different. I'm different. They don't look like me, but I bring something to the table they can't. Like, today is a prime example. Juneteenth. You can literally look and tell that Snapchat, they do not have any minorities or people of color on their team. Want to know why? Because some idiot decided that putting chains in the background and telling you to smile or break the chains was a good idea for Black people. That's what we bring to the table. We bring an inclusive, we bring inclusivity, discipline, and just an actual creativity of being in 10 toes down in the culture versus, some designer in Stanford who's making a bunch of money yet couldn't think that, Black people, holidays, chains, probably not a good idea. Like, you don't have to watch Roots once to figure that out. But that's my thing. Like, I don't care. Like, that's their problem. If there's not enough Black people in the room, then that's the problem on theirs and they need to fix it. But I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, I've often shared with people who are intimidated that they may not really be good with people, and one of the things to overcome. And I'd like to get your input on this. So, if someone who is an introvert, but they really want to learn how to code, a lot of times depicted on TV, you may see teams of coders, and you may think that it actually takes a team of people to do things. Where you have sites like Freelancer, I forgot they changed the name of it now, but where you have a lot of freelancer coders out there who are doing things by themselves, and then so that fosters kind of the entrepreneurial spirit inside of someone. But when you think about that the culture of either coding in a team or coding, alone, is there a difference? Does being a part of a team give you a leg up? And is that something that people need to really kind of focus on and develop that skill?
All right. So first, if you're an introvert, what you have to do is you have to communicate that to people that, we all have to learn work styles and learning languages. Like I feel like work languages and love languages are kind of the same thing. There are some people, they put on their headphones, they get to work, they don't want to talk. I am a social butterfly. I want to put on the code, and I want to know what's on pop culture. I want to know what's on this website. I want to keep up with what's going on everywhere. So that's my thing. So you have to find out your style. What I will say, teams, just like everything, it depends. I can't say that, hey, this team, being on teams is better, because depending on who you are, it might not. I can say my last team, because this team is pretty new. We have one member that is hopefully coming on. If he comes on board, it's going to be like Step Brothers and at Quicken Loans. So we might either do something really dope or get fired really fast together. Don't know. But my CBSI team, when I had Tom Leslie and Charles Camp, Adam Dillon, these guys out there, they made work fun. So that's what it depends what you're looking at. I tell people my goal is to be the best person on the team that doesn't make people want to throw them out a window. That's what I'm looking for. And that's what I think teams bring. Human beings are social creatures on some level. You're going to find, you have that human connectivity. So, I mean, it's just a really thing that varies, from person to person, the style of the team.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's also a stigma associated with coders or people in technology that we're really stiff. We don't know how to laugh and have fun, and everything that we do is so binary, and that isn't the truth. That isn't true at all. So I really appreciate you and the way you're breaking things down, because when people look at you, they can see themselves and realize they can get this stuff done.
Well, that's what I mean. That's the purpose of being forward facing. Is I originally came from Memphis, Tennessee. I actually met Barack Obama. I was invited to the White House while I was in Memphis. 40 under 40, 30 under 30. It's just for me, it was a low level, antiquated area. So I had to step my game up, become the best for my veterans. I had to go to a place that would make me better. But that's the thing. I want to be able to be that beacon that you're hey, I was you. I was that kid who didn't know how to play basketball. I was that kid that didn't know how to play football. I was that kid that was a dork. I was that guy that was out here doing crazy stuff. I've jumped out of a building. I've been in an IED attack. I've been shot at. I've been shot. I have, I've done all of the crazy things.
Well, let me.
Gamut.
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. We can go on. I'm really enjoying this conversation. We're about to transition off. We get cut off here automatically, but I wanted to take the time to say on behalf of the entire Juneteenth team and those watching, thank you so much, man, for your service. Thank you for what you're doing for the vets, and I appreciate knowing you, brother.
No problem, man. I volunteered for this stuff. This is what we have to do. You guys want to keep talking, keep the conversation going? I will be on Twitter at Jerome Hardaway. I'm here to talk tech and shoot the shit. That's what I'm about. So let's have fun and let's bring some joy in today.
Awesome, Jerome Hardaway on Twitter. Take it easy, guys. Thank you.
Hello, and welcome to the inaugural Juneteenth conference. On behalf of the team that worked so diligently to bring this event to life, we'd like to thank you for joining us in this audacious dream. 2 weeks ago, we set forth to bring a conference that celebrates, gathers, and uplifts Black voices in technology. And today, we get to see that vision become a reality. We'd like to invite you to learn more about the conference and the holiday behind it by clicking on the link above labeled Juneteenth in the header. Thank you so much for joining us, and enjoy the conference.
Beginning, because I think it's important for people to know who you are. Claudius Memba is a native of Cameroon, Africa. He is the CTO of New Inc., and it's a startup building a marketplace that provides automation in hotel-grade turnovers for Airbnb and vacation rentals. Claudius has a bachelor's degree in computer science from Ohio State University, and he has taken out his time, and we are so happy to have him here with us to really join the whole line of incredible speakers that we have here at Juneteenth. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the virtual stage over to Claudius.
Again, thanks so much again, Lance. I'm very excited to be here and speaking with you guys. I'm very honored having asked to be to submit something to talk about for Juneteenth Conf. I think this is an amazing platform you guys are building, and for it to come together so suddenly was a sight to see, quite frankly. I've been on the back end of organizing these things. I know it can be a big challenge, but yeah, so I wanted to go into my talk today. As Lance mentioned, I'm CTO and co-founder at New. New is a startup in Seattle that has been around for about almost 3.5 years. And we've been on a journey, me and my co-founder, Kwame, have been on a really roller coaster of a journey, trying to grow and expand our business. I'll go into a little bit about what New is and walk you through our journey. But my goal of this conference and this talk is really for those who are interested or thinking about jumping into startups or are in the journey, give you my lessons learned from our experiences, mostly failed attempts at fundraising. They say the best lessons are always learned in failure, and we've done it about 3 times now. So trust me when I say we've learned a lot. And I wanted to kind of showcase and give you guys access to this information in case you ever get to a point where you want to go down this path. So that being said, my title of the talk is What They Don't Teach You About Fundraising as a Black Founder. My co-founder and I, Kwame, again, are both African Americans, have built our team, which largely consists of about 80% Blacks, some actually in West Africa. Our engineering team is wholly, except for myself, based in Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria. And we have a Seattle-based team that works out in Sodo. So again, we're primarily Black company, and have gone through the rounds of journey of trying to fundraise for our business and grow it, expand it to different geographies, and increase the revenues. So let me dive in. So some background about New. As I previously mentioned, New is a Seattle-based startup. We are a managed marketplace that connects vacation rental hosts to local cleaners who can then clean the place before the next guest checks in. Obviously, due to COVID, a lot has changed within the hospitality and vacation rental space. And so we've had to, some call it a pivot, I call it an expansion. We've had to expand our business. Before, we were focused primarily on vacation rentals, as mentioned, but with hospitality and travel taking a huge hit, we sought to figure out what can we do to continue to grow the business. And so we started doing customer discovery calls. My co-founder Kwame led the effort on this, doing customer discovery calls to explore what other sectors of the economy are seeing uptick in demand. Again, we're a managed marketplace, but we supply the cleaners and we support wherever demand happens to be. So during COVID, we did some customer discovery calls, talked to mainly real estate agents and commercial offices, largely due to that's where the trend we're seeing in terms of needing on-demand cleaning solutions that weren't like contract heavy. So we interviewed and did customer discovery calls with these individuals in those markets and found some really good adjacent verticals for new to scale on. But that's kind of where we are now. I want to take you guys back in time and talk about the journey to getting here, and specifically around the fundraising attempts we've gone on and done. So again, New started back in actually 2017. I, as CTO, joined the team back in 2018, so that's where I'm going to start. So 2018 is when I experienced my first fundraise with the team, with our company. So Q3, I apologize, 2018, New set out on a goal to raise capital. We were hoping to raise about $750,000 in order to grow the business. New had at that point grossed roughly a little over $200,000 in revenues on just one geography alone, which was Seattle, servicing roughly 40 to 50 clients at the time, and we had brought on roughly 10 to 15 cleaners onto the platform. So again, with those relatively small numbers, and by small I'm using air quotes, relatively small numbers, we were grossing a decent sized revenue, and we knew that there was something to this. And so for us to expand, we knew we were going to need an influx of capital. And so we went out again fundraising. We were only raising in the Seattle area. We pitched to only Seattle area angels. And while we were getting a lot of good feedback around the experience, again, keep in mind, we had no formal training, no formal practice. And so we just knew we had to fundraise and we needed to get capital to be able to grow the business. And so we went out and just did it. And in doing that, we learned a lot from this first attempt. So the first attempt, again, we're trying to raise about $750K on talking to only Seattle angels, and sitting down with our advisors. We learned a lot from this experience. Unfortunately, during that first attempt, like I mentioned, a lot of these are failures. So these are the lessons from those failures. Unfortunately, that first attempt, while we met a lot of angels and got a lot of good feedback about the traction, about the business, about the logistics, we were ultimately turned down multiple times. I can't even count how many, in soft no's, essentially. But there was one shining light in that we got a sizable investment from a Seattle angel, who is now on our cap table. And sitting down with our advisors, kind of reflecting on that first attempt to fundraise, we learned that first, around the time we were fundraising, we were actually running up against the clock. We had chose to fundraise again, this is something we learned after going through the process and reflecting with those around us as to why it wasn't as successful as we wanted. We were fundraising during what is called the short season. So my first lesson taken away is actually seasons to fundraising if you're doing a startup. There's the long season, which is actually about February through to June. And then there's a short season, which goes from around August to November, and September to November. And going through it, we didn't realize this inherently, but if you think about it, it actually kind of makes sense. And it's intuitive once you really think about it. There's a break in between those two seasons, and largely due to the fact that it's actually summer break. Fourth of July is usually the time summertime and 4th of July is usually the time when most angels, I mean, they're people too, take the time off, they recoup, they go on vacations, they have fun with family. So during those two periods, people aren't actually fundraising. And going into the short season, you hit up around Thanksgiving when things start to decrease as well. So if you're going to fundraise, again, this is the lesson learned from our first attempt. There's seasons to fundraising, and you need to be aware of what season you're in. There's a long season, which is early in the year, from February to about June. You have about 6 months to kind of get the deal closed. with little room for distractions from the investor side. And then you have the short season. And in between there, you've got summer break where people are no longer really entertaining deals. They're going on break. And then December, when people are in the holiday season with family, well, November, December, so Thanksgiving through to New Year's, people are spending time with family and not focusing on deals as much. And so there's more distraction there. So that was something we took away after reflecting with our advisors as to why our first attempt wasn't as successful as we'd hoped. We realized that, in hindsight, we were running up against the clock. Now there are a lot of other things that happened during that fundraise period. We also applied for Y Combinator YC, which is a accelerator out in the Bay Area, a well-known accelerator out in the Bay Area, and we also applied for Techstars Seattle, another well-known accelerator out in Seattle, PNW. Both attempts, we got to the second round and interviewed, but ultimately both programs passed on us as well. And I mentioned this because these programs provide capital investment in addition to the program itself. So they're also a source of funding for most businesses. So yeah, that was our first attempt. And that was, again, the biggest lesson I learned coming from a zero fundraising background, jumping right into the pit of things. The first thing I learned was that you've got to understand that there are seasons to fundraising. You have to know when and where to be executing your fundraise, essentially. So attempt number 2. This was, again, taking the learnings we picked up from our first fundraise. There were a lot we wanted to change. There was a lot that we learned from talking to angels. We got a lot of feedback about not only the pitch, but the business, things that angels and venture capitalists see as red flags, things like that. And so we sought during that time to fix the holes in the leaky bucket, sort of say. And so we spent the full year of, again, between our last fundraise to the next one, a full year working on making sure that, one, our pitch was honed and refined, or at least we thought. Pitch was honed and refined. The buckets were fixed. We had answers to common and uncommon things that may hold back a venture capitalist from investing. And given our past experiences, we thought we were in better footing. So again, Q3, Q4, short season of 2019, we hit the pavement running. Given that we knew we were running against the clock this time as well, and fundraising during the short season, we actually refined our ask as well. If you recall, the first time I mentioned we were asking roughly 750K. We're looking to fundraise around 750,000. Going into it, again, taking the lessons learned and that first lesson of knowing the timeline, the season, we reduced our ask to just 400K. We're looking to raise 400K. That money would be able to help us expand to another geography and address some concerns that we knew about the business, especially given that we were in one geolocation, especially that geo being Seattle. I failed to mention, but Seattle is a very cyclical tourism market. If you haven't been before, it's perfect and amazing in the summer. There's tons of tourists, but then during the spring and winter, tourism dies down significantly. So our business is impacted by that seasonality. And the reason we were looking to raise funds was to expand to another geography that we could, one, combat the seasonality component, and two, bolster the business by having more revenues, quite frankly. So again, going into our pitch number 2, we have all this in mind. We're answering the questions to our best of our abilities. We've got rebuttals to, we've got answers to rebuttals. Notably, how are you going to use the funds? How are you scaling the business? What are you? Where is your next location, etc. And we had really thoughtful, insightful answers to that. Namely, the next location we're looking to expand to would be Phoenix, Arizona, due to the fact that, again, it is the opposite of Seattle's tourism market, whereas Q3, Q2 in Seattle is amazing for our business, and Q1 and Q4 are not. Q1 and Q4 in Phoenix would be amazing for our business due to it not being as hot. whereas Q2, Q3, not many people are staying in Phoenix due to just the heat wave. So that would balance out our business more or less. And so these were the answers we were providing the angels, and we were seeing a lot better traction. We had 2 strong seed firms entertain, go through due diligence with us, which is just the process of understanding whether or not this business is investable and whether or not the firm wants to invest. So we had a lot more traction this time around. We felt a lot more confident about our answers. We had reduced our ask down to about roughly half, and we were still staying with the same audience, which was again Seattle Angel, PNW Angels, and the like. Sadly, still having made all these changes and corrected our pitch, we ran into similar issues where, while we got a lot more traction, we actually went through some strong. We actually went through almost to the last minute with a lot of these firms regarding providing a capital investment. Many of them sadly still passed in the end. It was back to, again, our one investor who came in at our last round, decided to double down and just showing his confidence in what we were building. And quite frankly, the fact that we were still alive, given that the company was more or less bootstrapped due to my co-founder Ray's pitching and bringing in some grant capital, et cetera. The fact that we were still alive, we were more or less managing and being very frugal and trying to grow the business. So the second round, the lesson there for me was around knowing your audience. And I say that because while we changed everything else, so I kind of look at this, I kind of look at our attempts as experiments. We had A/B tested just about everything else, changed the ask, refined our pitch, again, figure out the right answers, the right questions and answers, but we kept the audience the same. It was still Seattle Angels that we were mostly talking to, or PNW Angels that we were mostly talking to. And again, upon sitting down and reflecting on this last experience with some of our advisors, we came to the realization that the Seattle Angel community is largely follow-on money, in the sense that they need, and this is the feedback we got consistently. A lot of angels were interested in this deal and wanted to get in, but they wanted us to have a lead investor before anyone would put money down. So, and I mean, that is technically the definition of follow-on capital. And there's nothing good or bad, right or wrong about that. It's just, you have to know your audience. You got to know who you're fundraising from. So had we had that knowledge, what we would have done is sought a lead before we entertained all these angels. I guess we were trying to, in entertaining all these angels, trying to get a lead, someone to put first money in and decide to be that lead. But we weren't able to secure that. And so a lot of the soft circled interest that we had ultimately didn't pan out. And again, largely due to us not understanding our audience as well, and knowing that before coming to them, we should have secured a lead investor who would then make that interest much more solidified. So that was kind of our second attempt. This time around, Q3, Q4 2019, we reapplied to YC and Techstars again. Techstars ultimately accepted new and brought and extended an invitation into the accelerator. And so we jumped at the opportunity to partake in such a great program, largely because we had some goals that we wanted to come out of the program and fundraise. And we knew that Techstars would be able to provide us again, we've had 2 failed attempts, at least when I was on the team, 3 in total, but 2 failed attempts at the time. And we knew we needed to learn more. We knew there was something missing and we needed to figure out what that is. And Techstars is, again, an accelerator that helps provide startups with the resources, the mentorship, the information to grow and succeed. And so that was our goal wanting to go into the program, was that we wanted to really learn how to fundraise and come out with a really strong fundraising event following the program. And so getting into Techstars, as I mentioned, these accelerators provide you with a capital investment in addition to the time investment. So we were able to secure a sizable investment from Techstars and leverage that to get us to the next milestone, more or less. We're leveraging that to get us to the next milestone. And so this is something, in going through the program, it was a lesson that was very unintuitive that I learned around fundraising. This is kind of a anecdote to our Techstars experience. But while in the program and during one of our sessions, something was said to the effect of, there are many companies in this program that will be able to raise off of a idea and a team alone, while others of you will have to prove out much more. And going into the program, New had been quite unanimously the company that had hit the most milestones in terms of revenue numbers. And so we felt confident that if we were able to get the Techstars experience, we would be able to come out and have a successful fundraise and finally kind of end the dry spell, so to say. But upon hearing that, but in the program again, hearing that given that we had been we had been in the community before, we had fundraised before, didn't have a really good track record of completing those, and two, that again, unintuitively, it's actually easier to fundraise if you're coming out of it with just a idea and a team. We were that was a lesson I took away, in that our success was that we had hit so much milestones, we had grown the business so much, but because we were having trouble fundraising, and because we had hit so much milestones, it was unintuitively hurting us. The success that we had hit was, again, unbeknownst to us, hurting us in terms of fundraising. And that is because we were being set at a much higher bar than other companies around us. Like I mentioned, the statement was, some of you will be able to raise on just an idea and a team alone, whereas others will have to do a lot more. And the realization was that we were the others who would have to do a lot more, given that we had already proved out a proven business model and had raised some and had generated significant revenues. Again, I say it's unintuitive because you would think that the company that has a proven business model and has generated revenues would be the one to get the investment. But if you think about that statement again, that success, that proving out that business model and generating revenues can be a hindrance, because now you're now having to reach a higher bar in order to gain funding. So that was something I learned. It was very, again, an unintuitive lesson, but something that I really latched onto during that program and took away. So again, this is something, if you're going through fundraising and you're trying to do a startup, it's an unintuitive thing to keep in mind, but it's something that I think all founders should keep in mind. Success can be a burden at times. If you're in the situation like we were, where we came in and we were one of the more established companies, and with our traction, we still had to do a lot more to get there. So I'm finishing up here with last one I want to kind of go through. Last fundraising attempt just actually happened. So I mentioned Q1, Q2, Q3, 2019. So Q1, we went through Techstars. We just completed the program. During that time, obviously, you guys are all aware, COVID hit. COVID destroyed everything. Our business struggled. We had to go through a lot. We had to furlough some employees and bring them back once things were able to be opened up again. But coming out of Techstars, we were.
Claudius, let me interrupt you, because I want to give you a chance to continue the conversation.
Yeah.
How can people follow you? To get more insight?
Definitely. You guys can follow us at usenew.com first and foremost. And then also I'm on LinkedIn and at memberships, my last name, Ships, on Instagram and Twitter, if need be.
Awesome. Well, I don't know if anyone else got anything out of it, but I've got about 5 pages of notes. So I appreciate you.
I'm glad.
Incredible. Yeah, I'm one of those that you don't have to keep hitting me in the head with the brick. If you already received the stars and wounds and you're willing to share, then I appreciate people like you actually doing that. So once again, we really appreciate you joining us here at the Juneteenth conference.
Definitely. Thank you guys again. It was a pleasure to speak with you. Hopefully everyone got something out of this talk, and I'm happy to speak more privately if you reach out to me. Happy to give you more insights from all the learnings that we've been through on this journey.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
All right, Lance. Thanks so much.
All right now. Bye.
Hello, and welcome to the inaugural Juneteenth conference. On behalf of the team that worked so diligently to bring this event to life, we'd like to thank you for joining us in this audacious dream. 2 weeks ago, we set forth to bring a conference that celebrates, gathers, and uplifts Black voices in technology. And today, we get to see that vision become a reality. We'd like to invite you to learn more about the conference and the holiday behind it by clicking on the link above labeled Juneteenth in the header. Thank you so much for joining us, and enjoy the conference.
I am here. I have the distinct pleasure of introducing to you a veteran who is hailing to us right now from Fayetteville, North Carolina, the birthplace of George Floyd. And she is a full-time or full-stack Java developer. She's actually spoken for us already here on Juneteenth, and she's back for round 2. I can go on and on about her accomplishments, and rather than do that, and you are worthy of that, but I want to give you as much time as possible to really impart to us what you have. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the stage over to our illustrious guest, Mo.
Thank you so much, Lance, for such a glowing intro. I appreciate that. All right, well, welcome back. I'm so happy that everybody's still here enjoying Juneteenth. It's the best. So let's continue to enjoy this holiday and continue to network, share, and build together. So, as he introduced me, I'm Mo Hampton, and this talk is about giving back to tech without burnout. This is kind of a part two to my first talk that I gave earlier, which was just about breaking into tech. And hit a lot in that talk about giving back to your community. And that's something I'm very passionate about and something I would like to speak more about. But, with every positive, there's a little bit of negative on the other end, kind of like a battery. You got to have that equilibrium kind of thing going on. So as you go in, try to volunteer for stuff, let's make sure that we try to avoid burnout. So you got the job, right? Now you're ready to give back. So you did it. You're a software engineer. You went through the whiteboard sessions. You aced it. Like you kicked butt. And they have invited you on board. And they said, you are it. Now you've made it through the gatekeeping. You've made it through that door. And you're excited. You know that you got the stuff. And you want to give back now. Well, let's just hold up before you go into a new nonprofit and you start giving your expertise and all of your energy to them. Kind of like We Got Y'all, if you've ever seen that show, Insecure. Issa Rae, she starts giving to this nonprofit and starts to realize some of these different things that she should have seen before she jumped on board with this nonprofit. So in this talk, we will cover ways that you can continue to volunteer without spreading yourself too thin, tips to include how do you give your talent without depleting yourself completely, who should you volunteer for, or how should you volunteer, more like, and then maybe we'll tap a little bit into the GitHub and see if there's any type of way you can do open source contributions for a newbie, and what projects will you choose for great impact. And then lastly, how do you say no? It's an art. It is an art. So here we have givers and volunteers. So giving back to the community is an act that is accomplished usually through volunteerism, right? So people choose to volunteer for a variety of reasons. Some might want to give back to the community to make a difference around them for impact, like really closely in proximity to where they live. Others might see it as an opportunity to skill up or level up. So as I'm volunteering, I'm teaching, I must know it. So if I'm teaching, I'm knowing, I'm growing, we are building up together as a community. Regardless of your motivation, what unites this all is that we both find it like both things are challenging and rewarding. That's the reason why you're going into it. You know it's going to be a little bit of challenge, but you know there's going to be a great reward behind it. And right now, we've probably seen like the most increase of volunteerism that we've seen recently. Outside of the protests, you've seen people like when COVID first hit, just volunteering for making masks, for getting out there and to help out, for the tech side of it, building dashboards so we can see, helping people understand what the data means. Oh, can I get a check real quick? I think I dropped. Can you guys see me out there?
Hey, Mo.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Yeah, I think your picture is frozen a bit here. We can hear you for
I
certain.
can hear you. Oh, okay. I can hear you, but I guess my picture froze. Is it?
What do you have on your screen right now?
On my screen, I have givers equals volunteers.
Mm-hmm. We see that. Try changing to your next slide. Let's see if your slide follows. Okay, so your slide is working. We're just not seeing your video.
Okay. Do you suggest I restart it real quick, or to get my video in, or?
That's a good question. I'd say if you can see your video, if you can see your slides, and we're able to see your slides, continue. We've got a nice, beautiful picture of you on the screen. So
that's a nice frozen picture. All right, we'll continue on. It's showing must go on, right?
As long as you can see your slides, and we can go. Go ahead.
All right, that works for me.
All right.
So, as I was saying, the pieces that we're going to talk about is how volunteerism right now has increased. just outside of COVID, and how we have been able to see those dashboards being put out there. And then not only just the COVID piece, but just the racial injustices that we've seen. And then also just everything against police brutality right now. So we've seen an increase of volunteerism, and we want to continue to give back to our communities to build and repair. Although givers are usually the most valuable people in the community, they're also at the greatest risk for burnout. So we want to be mindful of that. So according to the Harvard Business Review, it's a little article or a 6-part series that they did about generosity burnout. They said when givers don't protect themselves, their investments in others can cause them to feel overloaded and fatigued. They fall behind on their work goals and face more stress and conflict at home. Generosity means caring about others, but not at the expense of caring about yourself. So, you got to protect yourself from the exhaustion that you may feel. You might feel like you're not given as much, but yet you'll actually be given more once you start to pull back a little bit and really monitor yourself. You want to avoid burnout at all costs. So what is burnout? Burnout or volunteer burnout is very similar to job burnout or any other type of stress or burnout that you can have. But volunteer burnout, you're just not getting paid. You're doing all this work, but you're not getting paid, and then you're burning yourself out. So it manifests in different ways. It can be your physical, your mental exhaustion. You can feel hopeless while it's going on, mood swings, and anxiety. Burnout has been around, but right now, especially at a time when we are coming out of quarantine, people are phasing out of it. The digitally distracted lifestyles have amplified the problem. So although COVID and quarantine was something that we had to do to protect and save lives, I don't know if we would have had the impact that we had with Black Lives Matter and defunding the police, stopping police brutality, if people weren't strapped to their phones, to social media, and being at home and having their eyes wide open to actually see and feel this. But it works the same way with stress and burnout. So you don't have any other distractions right now. All these things are happening at the same time. So you want to be mindful of it. So when you're encountering the burnout, there's some stress and guilt that might settle in, and then that kind of kills your enthusiasm and your passion for giving back. And that starts to fade. Sometimes this cycle will continue, and you will eventually quit your volunteer role and give up on the whole idea. You might be deciding if it's maybe better suited for people who have more time and more capability than your capacity at that time for you. You doubt if you're even making a difference. You've lost a sense of satisfaction you had in the beginning. And where's the fun in that? Who wants to continue to volunteer if those are the things that you're going to encounter with burnout? So there's ways to avoid this volunteer burnout. If you think that you already had a full-blown case of volunteer burnout, there are some steps you can take to get through it. First, identify and accept your current situation, right? Give yourself a break. Examine the reasons why this has happened. And once you've done that, you want to review how you spend your time and make the necessary adjustments. So I'm just saying it out loud, but it sounds so much easier than what it is. But you will need to take that knee sometimes and just figure out like exactly what do you want to put in. And finding out exactly where you want to put in your volunteerism is finding the stuff that's doing the consistently meaningful work. When you have a sense of purpose, you're less likely to feel the need of artificial boosts and bad habits. So that stress will stay down. So you're actually following your passion. You have a purpose. You know what your output is once you start to volunteer from that. What generally burns people out the most is not getting recognition for their hard work or feeling like their work doesn't matter. So make sure that when you're volunteering in something that you know matters. You know that's going to have an impact on the community. While you're doing that, make sure you make time for your physical renewal. One of the things that I have increased, especially during COVID and quarantine, is appreciating nature just a little bit more than I did before. I mean, before it was always you get ready, you get in your car, or you go, grab your coffee, you go to work, you come back, and maybe you might go for a walk in the neighborhood. I doubt it. But now, ever since COVID hit, I generally walk the neighborhood probably every other day. I'm going on hikes with the family. We're loving and enjoying it. So that's something that you need to incorporate. Not only that, I had a software lead in my past organization. His name was John, and he used to just crack me up so much. But he was sharp as a whip, and I would always ask, like, how are you staying on top of this, John? And he would tell me nature walks. Just make sure you take a nature walk. Whenever you get stomped, don't just keep hitting your head against the wall. Take that time. Take a walk, come right back, and you'll feel renewed and refreshed and ready to hack at it again. You also want to lean on your support network. Ask your friends if they notice a change in you. If you feel like you're overwhelmed, more than likely you're exhibiting those behaviors to your friends and your inner circle, and they're noticing it too. They may not say something initially because they're seeing that you're trying to be a go-getter and you're trying to be helpful and whatnot. But have that conversation with them and say, hey, am I different? Do you think that things are like impacting me in a negative way? And they might be able to help you out and tell you, yeah, you need to take a step back. Or even better, you might be able to pull them in. So you might be able to say, hey, did you want to go volunteer with me this weekend or next week or something like that? And then now you're making it something where you're lightening your load, but you're still having an opportunity to give back. And ask others if they're willing to help. I love squad. I don't know if you listened to my last talk. I told everybody, and I'm kind of a little embarrassed, but I mean, if you can't be the Beyonce in your own life, then what are you doing? So I was saying how I consider myself a Beyonce, and I need my stands to be behind me sometimes to help me out, especially when I have those down minute moments and I need somebody to pick me up. So make sure you squat up. Preserve your energy. Distribute some of that giving and that load amongst your friends. Because more than likely, if you have friends that you guys have common interests, you're probably going to have the same type of common volunteerism. Like these are the things you want to give in. And even some of your friends who aren't in tech yet, you can bring them in that way by starting to volunteer. One of the ones I love to do is Black Girls Code because they have a lot of introductory courses. So even if my friend may not know that much about coding or circuit building or anything else of the science concepts or tech concepts that we do in Black Girls Code, it's so broken down that anybody can be able to learn it. You can learn it within a week and then be able to teach it and help out the girls. And then you have other tech instructors to help you out. So bring your squad in. So not only when you bring them in, now you're amplifying your impact by looking for ways that multiple people can be able to donate or be able to have a single act of generosity. And you can make it events, like I said earlier. You can chunk your giving into dedicated days or blocks of time rather than sprinkling it through the week. You'll be more effective and more focused when you actually have your squad with you. But the one thing that we have to actually keep in mind is the gender gap. I know this might not need to be said, or some people have already experienced it, but for a lot of women, it's really easy for us to be placed in roles where we give more. We're used to being nurturing, to giving a lot, to sacrificing for others. But the thing is, when you do this, we don't get that time back. We don't get that time back for our own work. We don't get that time back for our professional development or the opportunities to volunteer for higher visibility initiatives. So it kind of hinders us, even though we're giving back to the community. Just be mindful of that gap, and especially if you have others around you. So for women, you have to kind of shift that balance. And what that means is setting boundaries and being selfless. The art of saying no, which we'll talk a little bit later. We'll talk about mastering that and how you can shift that a little bit and tell people no and maybe even get paid. So what do? Do we want to volunteer in person or contribute to open source projects. Now, this is up to you. Some people, especially with majority of my software engineers, we happen to be more of introvert types. So it might be easier for us to be able to contribute to open source, to go into a code repo, fix some things, do some UI, build some tests or whatnot, and ship that out. And then we know that we contribute. Or, like I said earlier, some of us, we like to go to like Black Girls Code, Girls Who Code. If you listen to Jerome's talk earlier, there's Vets Who Code that you can be able to, there's so many different organizations, but you can also be able to give back by helping in person and doing these technical things to get others on board. Excuse me. So here, I know a lot of people, and especially if you're on the other channel, and you might be able to watch it later, but Brian Douglas, and he is from GitHub, and he's actually showing people how to make GitHub contributions to open source. So if you want to switch over to that, you can go see that, or you can stay here and you can go watch that later. But but GitHub, you can be able to easily contribute. Here is an example of a repo that for somebody who just wants to learn how to do a pull request, make that change to the code, and then submit it back and get a PR review. This is a great starting repo to do that in. So what I want to do real quick, I want to see if this is going to be an issue or not. Sorry. I'm going to share another Chrome tab and see if I can show you how easy it is to start with GitHub. So here we are, we're at the homepage for GitHub. This is almost like live coding. You always are a little hesitant that you're gonna mess up as you live code, but I think I got this. So one easy way to find different ways to contribute to in GitHub, and this is my way to find something, especially during Hacktoberfest, which is in October, what it kind of calls all developers out to be able to contribute back to open source. I would go through GitHub and I would look for a different topic. So you see in the URL up here, you can have your different topic. So right now, I guess a good topic I've been talking about now would be, let's talk COVID, because I know there's a lot of dashboards and code out there. So here we have all of the COVID open topics that come underneath GitHub. And a good way is to scroll down and to see who has an open issue. So it's an easy flag that says, hey, we need help here. And this is actually, Ivan has done a good job of saying what it is that he needs. Okay. And he's breaking it down pretty well here. So he's put an issue out there and told us that he needed any help appreciated right now with some of the algorithms and React parts for their unit end-to-end testing. Okay, cool. So you're like, oh, I think I can contribute to that. Not too bad. You can go to the repo. And what you're going to look for next is just to make sure they have an extensive README. Oh, this is nice. He's actually got the graphics going. Okay, Ivan. So you go here and you can go into the README file and it would show you the different things that they have integrated into this repo, the information behind it. It has a very nice overview of this team. I don't want to say it was just him. It's probably a whole team of people putting this together. The user guide here, not bad. And if you wanted to go ahead as the developer's guide, go ahead and quick start. It tells you what you need to do this on your own box. So you can be able to use Git, Node.js, as yarn. So of course you can Git clone it and you can start developing from there, open it up, see what the ticket is. Has a nice directory structure. But I just wanted to show you how easy it is just to look at one, figure out what the issue is, and then you can break it down to small parts and kind of figure out from there how you can contribute to that. So I'm going to go back to the slides. Here we go. All right. So if you already have a case, let's just go back to talking about burnout. And you already have a case, a full-blown case of burnout. There are some steps that you can take to get through it. We already talked about the identify and to assess and to take it back. But there's a point where you just got to say no. You just have to say no. It's okay. There's other opportunities. You can let other people shine during that moment. But there is a time where you can say no. You can walk. I'm giving you the permission. If my camera was working right now, I would be pointing you in your eye and telling you that I am giving you the permission to walk away and say no sometimes from volunteering. Make peace with what you're doing and go with it. If it means, one project or volunteer effort, if it means 5 or 6 are not good for you, know what you need to do to have a firm no, and don't go back. If you say no to this one volunteer opportunity, it's okay, walk away from it, but don't be wishy-washy about it, because then you're gonna have people coming back over and over again thinking that they might be able to persuade you, negotiate with you, or change your mind back. Remember that to never say yes on the spot. Just take your time, figure out if it's feasible for you, if it's something that you can fit into your schedule, and really have a meaningful response like, yes, I can do this, or yes, I will try to do it next week, or a solid no. Not every moment of your free time needs to be scheduled. I am screaming and attacking at somebody because I know a lot of us developers, we will go into this and we would think that now that we're doing this, we need to schedule all of our time. I'm passionate about it. I'm ready to go. I'm scheduling every single minute. Do not do that. That's how I felt susceptible to burnout, and that's how this talk came about. But try to avoid trying to put in every moment. It's a new passion, enjoy it, but don't overload it. Stop comparing yourself to tech influencers. I love Instagram. I love seeing all the great stuff that's happening in Twitter, but there's no competition. There's room for everybody. Do not compare your efforts to somebody else that is doing something else. Yet, even to TikTok, like I'm not even going there. I'm too old for TikTok, but TikTok looks smooth the way that the new influencers of tech are using that platform. I love it, but you can't compare yourself. Just do what you can. So last thing I will say, generosity means caring about others, right? But not at the expense of caring about yourself. So just remember, like, although you are volunteering, and we know volunteering is not a paid thing, in the Black community, we have a bad habit or a routine of being able to negotiate or say that I'm doing this because I'm getting my foot in the door. I'm going to be an unpaid intern for 1.5 years just because I wanted to get my foot in the door. I'm going to work for free on this project, although I know they should be paying for a developer. Or there's one that just boggled me recently about Twitter and their accessibility. They had people volunteering to make sure that things are accessible. And I don't understand why that's not a paid gig. So there's certain things that you can volunteer, but there is a point where you have to say, okay, I've given a lot and I know this is a gig. Even if I don't get paid, I highly suggest that you put somebody in this position, if possible, to get paid. So know when to give and know when you need just to get paid. So that pretty much sums up my talk for giving back without burnout. I want to see if anybody else has any questions out there for me or if there's anything else. Hi, Lance. You're on mute, Lance. I know it's in the day. We just want to get the Freedom Festival. We just want to get the Freedom Festival, and we want to go out. We don't. The camera stopped. The mic's not working. We're ready to celebrate.
Okay. Well, we've got a beautiful picture of you right now. Now I do have a question. How do you handle missed deadlines or deadlines that you see approaching, especially when you're volunteering? And you're approaching that due date, but you're not done, nowhere near it. Can you give some advice as to how to handle something like that?
Yes, communication is key in that scenario because it's not just you that's dependent on making this deadline. You are the nonprofit or the people that are dependent on you are using you for resources. And if you would let them know ahead of time that you can't do it or that something's going to prevent you from getting there in time, they will be able to plan accordingly. They are used to having volunteers and they're used to having a contingency plan behind their volunteers. So just make sure that you fully commit that you may be able to do something or you might have some stop holds that are going to slow you down.
Very, very good point. So when you talk about volunteering, especially during the whole COVID shutdown, when people are looking to build a portfolio, is that important? Is it a good idea to kind of build a portfolio, although it's volunteer work? Can that be beneficial to someone down the road?
Yes, like I said before, it could either be that you're doing this because you want to give back to the community, and that's number one reason. But it's also that you're building together, like you're building a skill set through your volunteerism. So when you do that, you can be able to put those things on your resume. Do not feel as if you're cheating the system and whatnot. These are experiences and skills that you should highlight and show to not only employers, but the community, because maybe somebody sees that you've done that volunteer and they want to use you to volunteer for something else if possible.
And have fun with it. Find something that you really, really, really like and you're passionate about or makes you smile and go code it.
Yeah. And collaborate.
That's right. That's right.
It's all about community.
Thank you so much for joining us again. You were fabulous as always. We really appreciate you taking out the time.
All right. Thank you, Lance. Everybody enjoy the rest of Juneteenth.
How can they follow you? Where should they go?
They should go on Twitter. They can go to Moxie Hampton. Everything's Moxie Hampton, Moxie Hampton, at Twitter and Instagram, and GitHub is Mo Hampton.
Gotcha. Awesome.
All right.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
you.